Good day. Welcome to this quick chat interview Officer Media Group is hosting with FN America. I'm Lieutenant Frank Borelli. I'm the Editorial Director for Officer Media Group. I've been a law enforcement officer about 40 years and a firearms instructor since 1989. I'm here today talking with Mr. Mark Mills from FN America. Mark, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Can you give me a little bit of your background real quick so our audience knows who they're listening to?
Yes, I'm a retired police officer from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I spent 20 years with that agency. The first 5 years, I was a patrolman and a field training officer in the downtown East Las Vegas area. And the last 15 years I spent on Metro SWAT team. I retired as one of two team training coordinators in 2010. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department SWAT team is a full-time team, so we were an extremely busy team, and keeping them trained up was a full-time assignment. Upon retiring in 2010, I went to work for a company called DynCorp that deployed me to Afghanistan, where I did the embedded police mission. And then in 2012, I was hired by Academy, formerly known as Blackwater USA, to be an on-site firearms and tactics instructor. I was there for a couple of years on-site in Moyoc. I deployed to a couple different places for them as a project manager and instructor. And then in 2017, I was hired by FN America to be the Western States law enforcement representative for them. So that's a brief synopsis on the background that I have.
Congratulations on retiring successfully. Congratulations on getting back from Afghanistan successfully.
Thank you.
And I'm surprised we haven't crossed paths more frequently. I wrote for Blackwater for about 9 years and did a little bit of work for them here domestically. Interesting that we haven't crossed paths before. But so we're here today to talk about the FN 509 MRD-LE. You know, this high capacity 9mm. Is it a polymer frame handgun?
Yes.
Okay, and it's with the Red Dot Optics site, and I know LAPD has already begun their adoption of it. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is this handgun. Something that I find of great interest is the optics mounting system. It seems like this optics mounted in a less obtrusive way than many are. Can you talk to me about that a little bit?
Yes, the system that was developed by FN to be able to mount optics to the slide is a system that allows us to use a series of plates and a set of patented screws to quickly and easily mount any major manufacturer's optic directly to the slide of the gun to maintain a good solid attachment there, which then in turn relates to zero being maintained. And in our testing with the initial system, we were well over 30,000 rounds on the optics that we were using, and we were experiencing no accuracy problems with that. So it's a well-tested, well-made, and easy-to-use system.
That's you know, the durability and reliability testing is very important. A lot of people say, well, if it works 99% of the time, that's good enough. But if you're a police officer who's potentially depending your life on a functional firearm, a 1% failure rate is completely unacceptable. It has to work 100% of the time. So it's good to know that the durability testing is done. Now, from what I understand, there was endurance testing of 20,000 rounds or more prior to LA adopting this weapon, and then the same number of rounds after. Is that correct?
Partly. The initial testing ran right around 11,000 rounds per gun, and then they went ahead and redid the test again. And then that's what bumped the numbers up to the 22,500 rounds that have been through the guns and the testing process with them. So quoting Sergeant DeVella from LAPD, it's a very rigorous test as far as pistol optics ready guns go.
Well, it's a rigorous test even for a gun that doesn't have optics, you know, ready mounted or capable of taking them. I think I finally have hit 23,000 on my 1911 I've had for almost 30 years. That's a lot of tested rounds.
It'll take some time for the average person to hit that number.
It certainly will. Now, so you did some testing before the LAPD adoption, and there's the process, I'm sure, before they formalized the adoption. Was there a working process in between FN and LAPD for any quirks, concerns, worries, whatever?
When the agency started their testing program, they reached out to manufacturers who already had a optic ready pistol in production. And
Okay.
so upon that notification, we all attended a symposium at the LAPD Academy. We presented the firearm that we wanted to submit to the selection process, and it actually had to be in production where they could walk down to any gun store and buy it off the shelf. That was the precursor to this whole event. If you qualified for that, then you got an invitation to submit your pistols for testing to the agency.
Okay. And then so FN was submitted the FN 509. Once you all received formal notification that it had been selected, then what was the process with working for the agency, or working with the agency, I should say, to ensure their armorers and trainers and everybody were up to speed?
We sent them out 3 509 test guns. We were invited to come out and to do a brief overview on the gun. They weren't expecting a full armor's course at that time, but they wanted to hear from the manufacturer representative the highlights and the ins and outs of how the gun was put together and what the benefits of that particular gun was. So I represented FN. I went out to LAPD. I met with their firearms cadre. I broke the gun down, explained a lot of the internal components. I explained the mounting system, and then I also explained what the warranty on it was.
All right. And then once they've adopted it, you all do have an armorers program that you provide to the agency, correct?
That is correct. We spent a week giving their firearms cadre, which is, if you think about the size of LAPD,
it's a significant number of people.
10,000 officers plus is what they have. We spent a whole week. We did 5 classes, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. till about 2 p.m., getting their armors trained up on the gun so that when it arrived on campus, they were up to speed on what the gun was, how it operates, and how they could, if they needed to fix it on any given day or add something to it, they were capable of doing that.
Mark, so let me ask you this. I've never had an RDS on one of my duty handguns. If I'm going to an armorer's class and the weapon has an RDS attached to it or is capable of taking it, is it a significant addition to the armorer's training or maintenance programs?
Not on the 509, and that's the only gun I can speak about. Our mounting system does not affect the maintenance cycle for the gun. It doesn't affect the armoring cycle of the gun. It's very unobtrusive, and so it's a real simple system to use, and it's pretty much out of the way of everything that functions within the gun.
And as I understand it, I think you told me earlier that when the weapon's delivered, the RDS isn't actually mounted. There's a dust cover piece there for the mounting spot on the slide. So
that is correct.
If you don't put the RDS on there, then essentially you have a 509 slick slide, for lack of a better way of saying it.
That's absolutely correct. Yes.
All right. So then my next question is, when's LAPD going to these? How and when are the LAPD officers going to start having these 509s in their hands?
The first shipment of the 509s arrived back in December. The instructors all have been issued their 509 LAPD guns already. The academy is going to be starting up here really, really soon, and I think either the first or second academy of students will be receiving the LAPD gun, the 509 MRD, as their duty assignment gun then. So probably the next 6 weeks, I would say, recruits will be being issued the firearm.
So, and just out of curiosity, when the recruits get them in the academy, will they have them the RDS in place, or do you know what their training regimen is?
The training regimen is going to be no optic at first. They'll go through just their basic firearms training course through their instructors. And then towards the end of that firearms training, they will then be exposed to an optic for their pistol, and they will go through a day or two of training. And then it will be the officer's decision if they decide to put an optic on their gun or not.
Fair enough. And then, um, how do other individual officers, if they want to purchase an FN 509 and they're authorized by their agency, or they're people like me, I'm still a sworn officer and I want to have an FN 509. How is there an individual officer program? How do we get a hold of them?
FN America has a really good officer program, and we have numerous law enforcement dealers around the country. If you are with the LAPD and you want to personally go purchase one, LAPRAC, which is the Los Angeles Police Revolver and Athletic Club Pro Shop, has them available there,
Nice.
as do several of the law enforcement gun dealers for FN in that area.
Okay. Excellent. And I've noticed this where I live. I know my agency has carried FNs. There seems to be a growing interest in the law enforcement community in the FN handguns. Can you speak to that at all?
Yes, I'd be glad to. And thank you for asking that question, because that's a really good one. For about the last 5 years, FN has really been making a push to develop a firearm that could be the most reliable that we've ever developed for law enforcement as a whole. When we decided to take the 509 and turn it into a optic ready pistol, that reliability became enhanced because of the accuracy that a red dot system allows the officer to achieve. Those two things, the reliability of the gun through the rigorous testing that we initially put it through, and the accuracy of what a red dot does, has made the gun very popular. The other factor in here is that when the Los Angeles Police Department adopted this pistol through their testing, we worked with them and we enhanced the trigger at their direction and with their help to get to the point to where we are today with a flat face, 5.5 pound, 90-degree trigger on the gun, which has really made the gun another step forward in reliability and accurate. So because LAPD is such a leader in the law enforcement community, and the fact that their folks really worked with us on getting a trigger put in that gun to enhance the officer's shooting platform, the information on that has gotten out in the law enforcement community, and the gun is becoming a major seller for us.
I can understand why. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, all right, 90-degree flat face. This sounds like a custom trigger in a duty handgun. It comes ready for an RDS or has one mounted. Okay, this is again something you don't normally see. It's like a custom piece of work on a duty handgun. When you have a high quality handgun that now has these, for lack of a better term, custom enhancements, no wonder it's catching people's attention. I mean, something you would expect to be an expensive piece to put in your gun safe, and LAPD is issuing it as their duty firearm. That's impressive.
It is very impressive. They've taken a lot of pride in that idea. And one of the things that I tell a lot of agencies, and I tell police officers when I'm either at their agency or at a convention somewhere, is that the 509 is a gun that has been built for police officers. And now, because LAPD joined in the final development of the trigger, it's been built by police officers. So it's a very law enforcement enhanced, ready to go gun that is reliable and accurate.
It's impressive. Now, thank you for all of the information on the 509. Before I ask you this next question, is there anything specific you can think about it that we haven't already discussed that you want to make sure our audience hears?
The only thing I would add to that is that the gun is really easy to run. It's easy to mount an optic to it. The gun has a really smooth, easy trigger in it now. It has a really nice slide to grip angle, so the gun flattens out very fast on presentation out to target. And
Mhm.
it also drops back in on target after it's being, while it's being fired, after first round, second round, third round. Follow up is really quick. So the whole function of the gun, which has been designed for police officers, is just really becoming well known, and it's really becoming a good gun for us in the law enforcement community.
Just out of curiosity's sake, the mechanical sights that are on the gun are they suppressor height? Are they normal height? What are you doing with the mechanical sights?
Out of the box, they come with suppressor height sights on it, or which we like to refer to as optic ready sights, because some
Yes,
states don't like the suppressor term. So optic
right.
ready sights, that'll allow you, if you so desire, to co-witness your optic to your sights without having to go out and buy a whole new special set of sights to attach to your gun. The 509 comes with them.
Excellent. Now, moving on from the 509, obviously that's not the only weapon you all make for law enforcement. I guess it's been almost a year now. I got an FN-15 rifle and field tested that, put a couple of thousand rounds through it, did some rigorous testing, and I won't tell you all what I did to it in the field because somebody might get mad at me about that. But we tested it, and the FN-15 as a patrol rifle, I know, is out there on the market. If you'd like to speak about it at all and any other FN law enforcement specific systems you have, I'd love to hear about them.
The FN-15 rifle family, as it is becoming very well known in the law enforcement community. FN has been building rifles for the U.S. military for decades now, and we really have that system to where we're putting out well-made rifles, and they're proven in the law enforcement community by our young men and young women who are in the military and going into harm's way. So it's battlefield proven, which is a big reliability factor to law enforcement. We have built them in a way that has become easy for law enforcement to use them, especially across the board from small frame officers up to large frame officers. The platform fits them all, and the reliability of the FN name and the rifle business is strong to where agencies are pulling onto that and using that as a platform to purchase and allow their officers to purchase these rifles for their use in law enforcement.
And it only makes sense from the agency investment and long-term maintenance cost perspective to have both your handgun and your rifle be from the same manufacturer. It simplifies things a great deal, I would imagine.
It really simplifies things. And then on the back end, which a lot of people don't look at, but it is an important issue, is cost that is involved. It will save the money agency, it'll save the agency money, if you will, having this, your pistol and your rifle being produced by the same company, so that you're not having to bring in multiple armors, multiple
Right.
parts kits, multiple parts. So it's a big saving to the agency, and in today's times, that becomes real important to them.
And there's something to be said from, like I said, from a guy who's been in law enforcement for a long time to retired officer. You know this is true. The relationships matter a lot too. So rather than having to have a firearms armor or head armor or whatever, who's got to have relationships with 3, 4, 5 different companies, having that one armor that has that one relationship with that one company, quite often can smooth out bumps and challenges. And if there's ever any kind of problem, something that's needed short notice, whatever, the relationship matters.
That's exactly right, and we see that all the time, where agencies will call me because of the relationship that I have with them, because they're running our rifle or our pistol, and we're able to get that issue solved right away. So having that personal relationship with the gun manufacturer saves time, which time equals money. And if we can save them more time, then the officer has the tools that he needs faster, easier, And, it's a win-win for both groups involved.
Indeed it is. Mark, I want to thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you giving me the explanations that you have and answering all the questions that I've had. And I look forward to seeing how FN grows across the country.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks.